I'm somewhat of a serial entrepreneur. If I ever am frustrated about the way people are doing things and I feel I can do it better, I will dive in and try to improve something.
Virgin Media, see what you can do.
I've had some lucky breaks and have fallen flat on my face on occasions. And so I think it is quite likely that today I might still be building a spaceship company and trying to shoot for the stars, even if one or two of my early businesses had failed. But I think I would have picked myself up again and again until I succeeded.
Well, I think that there isn't a lot of difference between being an adventurer and being an entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur, you are pushing the limits. You're trying to, as I said before, trying to protect the downside. And the downside as an entrepreneur is going bust. As an adventurer, you're pushing the limits. You want to protect the downside because the downside possibly is losing your life. So you particularly want to protect the downside. And I mean, I realized quite early on in life that in order to put Virgin on the map on a global basis, I didn't have the advertising power of our big rivals. So I would have to utilize myself to get out there and make sure that the world knew about Virgin. And I've had a lot of fun doing it, as well as the sort of normal stunts you do when you launch new businesses. So trying to beat the record for the fastest boat across the Atlantic. Yes, we ended up sinking the first time, but we came back and was successful the second time. Trying to be the first person to fly the Atlantic in a balloon. Yes, we sank the first time, but anyway, the second time we were successful, and so on. So, but I think it helped portray Virgin, as a company that was adventurous and was willing to literally, push the balloon out or the boat out, believing in their company enough to put it on the map. And anyway, it's been a lot of fun doing it, and it seems to have worked.
A dyslexic high school dropout with nothing but a dream and a little bit of courage, Richard Branson became an internationally known business giant with the creation of his empire, Virgin Group, and is worth a whopping $3.1 billion. Richard Branson is a big believer in dreaming big and being an innovative leader that his employees can trust to get the job done. Richard Branson has proven to the world that you can have roadblocks in the way of your dream, but as long as you keep going, you can achieve literally anything.
I was once a child with a dream, looking up to the stars. Now I'm an adult in a spaceship.
In this video, we'll cover the 5 lessons we learned from Richard Branson that taught us about being a powerhouse innovator, leader, and entrepreneur. Lesson 1. Be prepared to face failure, but don't let it deter you.
There is a very, very thin dividing line between success and failure. Most people who set up in business without financial backing, they fail at some times in their lives. I've only just stayed at the right side of that dividing line. For instance, just after, we had a record company, I was fed up flying on other people's airlines. I felt that the experience of flying on other people's airlines was an unpleasant one. And I decided to set up an airline. Our bank went into complete panic attack. And when I came back from doing the inaugural flight of Virgin Atlantic's very, very first flight from London to New York, I came back to find the bank manager sitting on my doorstep and informing me that they were going to close Virgin down on the Monday, and this was the Friday, and that I had 2 days to effectively pay them off the monies that they'd loaned us. I remember pushing the bank manager out of my house, telling him he wasn't welcome, which is a dangerous thing to do to your bank manager, and then spending the weekend ringing around the world to all of the distributors of our music, asking if they could give us a temporary loan to get us through the following week, which they were good enough to do. And by the end of the week, we'd changed banks. We'd actually managed to find a bank that was willing to lend us 30 times the overdraft facility that our bank had lent us. we managed to survive. And I think, the moral of that story is actually, don't, think of your bank as somebody that you're beholden to. I mean, people just don't move from one bank to another. Sometimes you need to be willing to step up and move your banks in the same way that you should step up and move your doctor on occasions. Anyway, I learned from that lesson.
Richard is known to take risks and try new things. In his story, he shared how he had a literal weekend to pay off the bank he was currently at, or else Virgin would be shut down. To many, this may have seemed as if it was the ultimate failure, but for Richard, it was time to pull up the bootstraps and get to work. Thanks to his hard work and determination, Virgin is still alive and kicking. Lesson 2. Build a team you trust and you'll see even more success.
I have a fantastic team of people who run the Virgin companies, give them a lot of freedom to run the companies as if they were their own companies, give them the freedom to make mistakes. The Virgin brand is now maybe one of the top 20 brands in the world, well respected. When my balloon bursts, Virgin will continue to flourish. Maybe I had the icing on the cake on occasions. Maybe they'll have to spend a bit more money on marketing, but fortunately, Virgin is in a state where it can live on healthily without me. But I think the most important thing about running a company is to remember all the time what a company is. A company is simply a group of people, and as a leader of people, you have to be a great listener. You have to be a great motivator. You have to be very good at praising and looking for the best in people. People are no different from flowers. If you water flowers, they flourish. If you praise people, they flourish. And that's a critical attribute of a leader.
Being a leader is one thing, but having to be a leader and run a company on your own is a game not many want to play. It's important to create a team that sees your vision and want to help you accomplish it. Plus, it'll help grow the business and let you know that you have a group of people who have your back and are willing to put the extra work in to make your company successful. Lesson 3. Do not let your challenges define you.
Strangely, I think my dyslexia has helped in the business world in that in that because I have had problems when I was younger communicating, I need, for instance, when I'm launching a new company, I need to be able to understand the advertising. If I understand the advertising, I believe that anybody out there can understand the advertising, and therefore Virgin speaks in a more direct, simplistic way to people. But the amusing thing is that when I turned 50, I was in a board meeting. I hate board meetings, but I was in a board meeting, and I asked somebody, "Is that good news or is that bad news?" When they mentioned something was a figure was something net. And so the director afterwards took me outside and said, "Look, Richard, I've been in these board meetings with you for 20 years and none of us have been brave enough to sort of, to take you on one side, but you obviously don't know the difference between net and gross." And he said, "No, here's the ocean. Here's the net in the ocean. The fish that are inside the net, that's the money we've got left over at the end of the year. And then the rest of the ocean is the gross." And that's so. Got it. So we had the largest group of private companies in Europe, and the chairman had no idea how to read net or gross.
Ever since he was young, Richard faced challenges with his dyslexia, a learning disability that makes it hard for people to decode language and read. But Richard didn't allow this disability to stop him from his dream of creating businesses. He instead made sure that he turned his business model into a simple structure that was clear and to the point so everyone, regardless of their learning ability, would be able to understand it. Lesson 4. Break some rules responsibly.
Yes, conventional wisdom will say that, and I suspect, any of you who've been to business schools, you'll be taught you should specialize in one area and try not to stray from that area, and that the best businesses in the world are those businesses that stick to their core. And actually, if you look at the top 20 brands in the world, you have got Nike specializing in shoes. You do have Microsoft specializing in computers, or Coca-Cola specializing in soft drinks, and you can't really imagine Coca-Cola airline. Or but I don't think personally, I think rules are made to be broken, and what we've at Virgin tried to do is to create a way of life brand, a brand that tackles major companies in quite a lot of different sectors. And it wasn't something we actually set out to do. I left school at 15 to because I wanted to start a magazine run by students to try to put the world right. There was the Vietnamese War going on. I'm afraid the equivalent of what's happening in Iraq, but in Vietnam. I was against it, and I was wanted a voice to campaign to try to to stop it, or have our little bit in trying to stop it. There was the way we were being taught at school. You would spend 8 years learning French and in an English school, and you'd come out not speaking French, and the way we were being taught was not conducive to learning it. So my principal aim was to create a business that to create a magazine that would make a difference. And it wasn't going into creating a magazine to make money or to become an entrepreneur. It was creating a magazine to make a difference. And since then we've gone into a lot of different areas, a lot of different businesses, again not with the purpose of becoming a serial entrepreneur, but because we have seen I used to fly when we had a record company on a lot of other people's airlines, and the experience was dire. And if you've ever flown on an American carrier, I won't mention Canadian carriers, you'll know what I mean. And so I decided that if you could create an airline that where the staff were actually enjoying working on that plane, and they were actually proud of the tools they were given, and they were proud of the service they were offering the consumers, and it was actually a fun airline to fly, that it might be successful. And so in that particular case, sat down with Boeing and said, like to buy a second-hand 747, and I was the person that had brought the Sex Pistols and a few other bands, so they actually must have thought me absolutely mad. But anyway, they sort of maybe spotted something in me that made them think that we could maybe build a competitor to British Airways. But I also made a stipulation, because I didn't want to bring everything else that I built come crushing down if I was wrong about the airline business. I said, look, I've got to protect the downside. I may be completely wrong that there's an opening for Virgin Atlantic. At the end of the first year, I want the right to hand that plane back to you if I'm wrong. And it might mean that you won't make any money, but you won't lose any money either, and we can both walk away from it. So by protecting the downside, I could then just about convince my fellow directors at Virgin Records to let us start an airline. And as it turned out, after the first year, things were going quite well.